If you're looking to level up the security in your Salesforce, or you're just not quite sure if there's a gaping hole that an attacker could sneak through, then just keep watching. I'm going to show you some pro tips and tricks that you can use to configure Salesforce for maximum protection. And at the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what you need to do to keep your data safe. Hi, my name is Matt Myers with Easy Protect. This channel is all about teaching you more about Salesforce, Salesforce best practices, and cybersecurity. If this is something interesting to you, and you'd like to see more videos like this one, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Alright, now let's go ahead and get into those tips and tricks. Now I'm guessing that you clicked on this video because you're concerned about the security of your data in Salesforce. I know as a business owner I am, especially with all the news these days of companies getting hacked and having to pay millions of dollars. Salesforce is a great business tool, but it is also very complicated. There's a lot of different switches and settings, and how do you know you got everything right? How do you know you didn't miss something really important? That's something I worry about every single day. But don't worry, if you want to learn more about how to keep your company's data safe and not just become another statistic, then just keep watching. In today's video, I'm going to reveal to you 10 super easy things you can do to protect your Salesforce data right now. And if you stay with me to the end, I'm going to share with you a resource that you can use to secure your Salesforce data today. Alright, let's go ahead and get started with those tips and tricks. Okay, number one, you need to regularly back up your data on Salesforce. Backing up your data is your number one defense against ransomware attacks. Ransomware is a very special type of attack where an attacker will plant a bomb on your computer, and then all of a sudden that bomb blows up and encrypts all of your data. And then the attacker asks for a ransom in order to get your data back. The problem is, a lot of times you can't get your data back because they just won't give it to you, or their tool doesn't work to give you all of your data back. Companies last year paid anywhere from $300,000 to $10 million just to get their data back. So why take the risk? It's so easy. There are so many backup solutions out there today to help protect your data in Salesforce. One of my personal favorites is called Own Backup. They are the leader in the industry in data backup for Salesforce. They've been around for a very, very long time, and they have a very solid solution for data backup in Salesforce. If you're interested to learn more about the data backup capabilities of Own Backup, go ahead and click the link in the description at the end of this video to go to their website to learn all about Own Backup. Okay, number two, enable file upload and download security in Salesforce. File upload and download security in Salesforce limits the user's ability to download or upload high-risk file types in Salesforce. There is one thing though to know about this capability. It's a little bit of an older capability and only supports Salesforce attachments, which are an older type of file storage in Salesforce. Also, it is not completely foolproof. It only checks for the MIME type of a file, which is a self-reported type from the server. So it is very possible that still, if someone's being very malicious and very sneaky, that they could still have the ability to trick Salesforce and the user could still download an attachment file. Still, this is a very useful feature that you should enable to prevent users from downloading malicious file types in Salesforce. Number three, enable allowed file types in Salesforce digital experiences. So what are digital experiences? Digital experiences are public-facing sites in Salesforce that allow you to engage with your customers and your partners. Also, these customers and partners can be your biggest risk. You don't control their computer, so therefore you don't know if they have a virus on their computer that they're going to be uploading to your Salesforce. Salesforce Digital Experiences has a feature that allows you to specify the allowed extensions that users can upload to those digital experiences. This allows you to block or not allow certain types of files that you deem high risk. But note that this will not stop someone that's being purposely malicious, as they can disguise files with different extensions that could bypass this security. But this does limit the types of malicious files, or at least high-risk files, that normal users would be uploading to your Salesforce communities. Number four, disable the ability for guest users to upload files in Salesforce Digital Experiences. A guest user is a very special type of user in Salesforce Digital Experiences that is used to display public information or public pages to people that are not yet authenticated. The problem is these users are also your biggest risk. A lot of times companies, what they will do is allow these users to create support tickets before they're authenticated. And a lot of times they'll have them upload a file like a screenshot. Well, since these users are not authenticated, they've not been pre-validated, and they are the highest risk types of users. Someone that's being malicious could easily upload a file that contains a virus or some other threat right into your Salesforce. So it's a best practice to disable the ability for these guest users to upload files and only allow uploading of files for users that are already authenticated and known to your organization. It is also a best practice that you always only set the minimum amount of access required for these guest users, since they are a shared user across anyone that is not yet authenticated in your system. And last and not least, it is also a best practice that you always routinely audit all of the access of all of your users, and especially these guest users, at least once a quarter to ensure that no level of access has been given that you are not expected for these users to have. Number 5, configure Clickjack protection for Visualforce pages in Salesforce. Clickjacking is a special type of attack where an attacker will overlay a hidden page on top of the page that your users are looking at. It's kind of like the page you're looking at isn't really the page you're looking at. Your users, when on this page, then will click a link thinking they're clicking a link in Salesforce, but actually they're clicking a link that an attacker has overlaid on top of Salesforce and then redirects them to another site. And if the attacker is particularly sneaky, they'll actually have another Salesforce page or Salesforce site that looks and feels just like Salesforce, so your user doesn't know they even left Salesforce. Salesforce enables Clickjack protection for all internal pages in Salesforce, but by default does not enable it for Visualforce pages. So it is up to you to ensure that you enable Clickjack protection for your Visualforce pages in order to ensure that your users are actually protected from clickjacking. Number 6, enable cross-site scripting protection in Salesforce. Cross-site scripting, like clickjacking, is another covert type of attack, where a user will be redirected away from Salesforce as if it came from a trusted source. Also, a lot of time hackers will use innocent URLs hosted by a trusted source to inject malicious scripts and perform the same type of attack. Once this setting is enabled in Salesforce, when someone clicks on a URL that's subject to this type of attack, the user just sees a blank page instead of it being subject to this attack. Enable content sniffing protection in Salesforce. Content sniffing is a feature that a lot of browsers have in order for better performance, where they detect the type of content that a file is and attempt to execute that file if it is a known type that could be an executable. Unfortunately, a lot of attackers will take advantage of this feature and will disguise a file that's a low-risk file type that's actually a high-risk file type, allowing a browser to execute the file. So with content sniffing protection enabled, what Salesforce does is blocks the browser's ability to automatically execute these files. Number 8, warn users before they're redirected out of Salesforce. As you've seen so far, there's lots of different ways that attackers can use to have a user click on a link or use scripts to redirect them away from Salesforce. With this feature enabled, users receive a warning before they're actually redirected from Salesforce, so they have the chance to know that they are being taken away from Salesforce. This is a very effective way to protect your users, since they are actually notified when they're leaving Salesforce instead of just clicking on a link and then realizing that they have left Salesforce. Number 9, scan your files uploaded to Salesforce for viruses. Salesforce are not scanning any of the files you upload for viruses, but neither is any other cloud today as well. And if they are doing it very minimally. That is why, regardless whether it's Salesforce or any other cloud, you need to make sure that you're scanning your files for viruses, because it is your responsibility to ensure that your files are virus-free, especially if you're sending files out to other customers and partners. The biggest risk for you is with Salesforce Digital Experiences. Since Salesforce Digital Experiences allow external users that you don't know and oftentimes don't trust to upload files into your Salesforce, you need to ensure that those files are scanned even more so than your internal users. Many times people get a false sense of security about virus scanning in Salesforce. They either assume that Salesforce is scanning their files, or they feel that they don't need to scan their files for viruses. Number 10, routinely review and enable Salesforce release updates. Salesforce releases updates 3 times a year, and then often releases updates in between those 3 times a year releases, especially when new security issues come out. Threats are constantly evolving, That is why technologies need to evolve with them as well. That is why Salesforce, in addition with putting out their 3 releases a year, is constantly releasing security updates to ensure that you're protected from these threats. Just like with Windows, you need to review and enable a lot of these updates yourself. Salesforce wants to make sure that these updates are not going to cause a problem in your Salesforce environment with some of the custom functionality that you've done. So the best way to do this is go to Salesforce's Release Update Center, review the updates, test it in a lower environment, and then once you're satisfied that it's not going to break anything, then review this and enable the update. It is highly suggested that you look for new updates at least once a month to ensure that you have all the latest updates enabled and tested in your Salesforce environment. Now, so far in this video, I've talked about some really great ways that you can level up your security in Salesforce, such as backing up your data, blocking guest users from uploading files in Salesforce, and virus scanning in Salesforce. The next step is to start implementing these settings so you can be protected today. Now, as promised, if you would like to learn more about these tips and tricks for how you can protect your Salesforce data and users from cyber attacks, then download our free guide right below this video in the description. But if you would like to start protecting your Salesforce users today, then watch the next video in this series where I will be implementing all these tips and tricks in Salesforce.